What's up, guys? Welcome to another Euro Fantasy Football 2021 video. I thought for this one I would go through my top 10 goalkeepers for the first match day. So that's not for the whole tournament, it's just purely for the first match day. And a lot of that's going to depend on the fixtures. But I thought that's the best way of going about it to find out what I think are the top 10 goalkeepers for specifically for match day 1. Okay, so at number 10 I have Kassir as my number 10 goalkeeper for match day 1. The reason I've chosen him is actually because he is quite cheap at 4.5. He is a talented goalkeeper. The only reason he's at number 10 is because he's playing Italy, who are favourites to win the group. And that's going to be a tough game for Turkey. They can definitely keep clean sheets and they can definitely stop goals going in. Based on the qualifying rounds, they conceded the joint least goals, equal with Belgium. I think it was 3 goals in total. But having said that, qualifiers aren't always the best judge of how a team's going to do. But yeah, I think the main points for Kassir is that he's 4.5. He's relatively cheap, and yeah, I mean Italy, they're a great defensive side and they can score goals, but you never know. He could keep a clean sheet. Number 9, I've gone with Thibaut Courtois. Now, typically he would actually be higher up on my list. The only reason he's not is because he's 6 million. Now, I do think Russia is a really good fixture to keep a clean sheet for Belgium, but again, it's like I say, 6 million. I think there's cheaper options out there who are also like to keep a clean sheet. But having said that, if you want someone who's a very talented goalkeeper who's pretty sure and you're willing to spend more money, then I would go for Thibaut Courtois. Number 8, I've gone with David Marshall from Scotland. Now, I know you might be thinking this is a bit of an odd pick because Scotland don't seem like favourites to make it out of that group, and yeah, definitely, I would say that they're definitely not the favourites. But having said that, I do think they do have some good players in defence. I mean, they've got the likes of Tierney, the likes of Robertson, and I just fancy Scotland to keep a clean sheet against Czech. Czech aren't the most prolific of goal scorers, and at the same time, Scotland don't play attractive football. I mean, they're most likely to maybe get a scrappy. If they do win, it's most likely to be a scrappy 1-0, or maybe even a 0-0. Um, I fancy him at 4.5. I think he could be an okay pick. It's a budget option. It's not a guaranteed clean sheet. But if you're looking for a 4.5 midfield, 4.5 goalkeeper, I would go potentially with David Marshall. Number 7, I've gone with Jan Sommer. I think that Switzerland are a really, really good defensive side. They're pretty old school. They've not really changed their squad much since the last tournament in the World Cup, and even for the Euros. I mean, they've pretty much stuck with a very similar squad, but they just play very defensive football. They're a very solid side. They've got Wales, who aren't the most prolific goal scorers. They do have some talent Wales like Bale and Ramsey and maybe Daniel James as well, but at the same time, 5 million is pretty well priced for Jan Sommer. My only thinking of perhaps not picking him is that there is a good alternative to Jan Sommer if you want Switzerland clean sheets, which is Rodriguez, who's also on penalties. He is more expensive, but if I was to go for a goalkeeper I would go for Jan Sommer. I've got him at my number 7. There are some other goalkeepers who are ahead, who are also 5 million, who I would actually rate as better. But number 7 is Jan Sommer. Number 6, I've gone for Donnarumma. I think a lot of people have. I think he's actually the highest owned goalkeeper in the game, 27%. A lot of people have chosen him, and that's mainly because Italy are a very, very good defensive side. My only downside to picking him is that I do think Turkey can score goals, and they do have Yilmaz, who's been on a good streak of form. They do have I can't pronounce his name, but they do have some good options in on their wings in the midfield and up front for Turkey. So they can score goals, but then again, Italy are one of the best defensive sides in the whole tournament. I would not doubt them or doubt their ability to keep a clean sheet. So I've gone with him as my number 6, mainly because I do think there are a few options who are 5.5 who are slightly better. Number 5, I've gone for Wolszak Szczesny. I think that Poland are nothing special at all. The reason I've simply gone with him is because they're playing Slovakia, who cannot score for toffee. They are not a good offensive team. In fact, I would rank them as the lowest ranked team in the whole tournament. Having said that, there's always shocks and upsets in tournaments, but I don't see that being the case. I think that Poland are very likely to keep a clean sheet. He's only 6% owned, 5 million. I think he's a good option, a very, very solid option, and he's my number 5. Okay, so now we're at number 4, and this is where it starts to get interesting because this is actually a pick that I've gone with. I do think Spain are one of the best defensive sides in the whole tournament, simply because they retain so much possession and they've got talented defence. They've got Torres as a centre back and Unai Simon, who's only 23 years old, but he's considered quite a talented goalkeeper. And to keep out David De Gea, he's got to be good. As well as that, they're only playing Sweden. Now, Sweden are not a bad side, but they're missing Ibrahimovic. They're not the most prolific in front of goal. They're more just quite a solid team. But I just see Spain keeping a clean sheet here. The bookies have them as quite high percentage to keep a clean sheet. And he's only 1% owned, 5 million. I think that's an absolute bargain for a Spanish goalkeeper. The only downside to owning him would be that Torres is 0.5 cheaper. But I would definitely favour Spain to get a clean sheet against Sweden. So yeah, at number 4, I've gone with Unai Simon. Number 3, I've gone with Jordan Pickford. The reason being is because England are quite a defensively good side. I know they're playing Croatia, who I think they made it to the finals in the World Cup. But having said that, Croatia are an aging side, and England just somehow seem to scrape clean sheets. I don't know how they do it, but they just seem to play good defensive football. That might be because they've got good options at the back. Granted, Harry Maguire is injured, but I fancy Ben White to step up, and I do fancy John Stones when he's partnered with the right centre-back, which I do think Ben White could be the right centre-back. He tends to play much better. As well as that, they've got Declan Rice shielding the defence. He's had a phenomenal season with West Ham. I do think he's a great defensive mid. And yeah, I fancy England to keep a clean sheet against Croatia. He's not the cheapest at 5.5, but pretty low owned. And yeah, I think that England could surprise some people defensively, and I actually do think he will keep a clean sheet. Finally, getting close to the top now. I've gone with my number 2 as Kasper Schmeichel. Now that's simply because, well, one, he is a very good keeper. He's a very, very good goalkeeper. He's got a lot of experience. He's also quite talented as well. He's actually pretty highly owned, 20%. But it's simply because they're playing Finland. Now, Finland pretty much depend on Teemu Pukki, and if he's not in form, they're not going to get goals. And even with Teemu Pukki, if he's got no one supplying him because Denmark could just shut the other team down, they're not going to be able to score against them. So I really do fancy Schmeichel to keep a clean sheet. And at 5 million, I think it's an absolute bargain of a price. Really, I think he should probably be priced at 5.5. But I think 5 million is a really good price for him. The only reason I would say maybe not to pick him is because there are 4.5 options in Denmark's defence. But other than that, I would say Kasper Schmeichel is my number 2. So finally, the number 1, who you've been waiting for, I'm going with Rui Patricio. I think that Portugal are by far the best defensive side in the whole tournament, even surpassing Italy, and that's mainly because they've got an absolutely phenomenal array of options in defence. But as well as that, he's just a great goalkeeper, and Hungary are not a good side. Hungary, although from what I've read, now initially I thought that Hungary would park the bus against Portugal, and I still think to some degree that might be true. I did read somewhere that they actually play quite an aggressive pressing style of football, but I just can't see that happening against Portugal. And if it does, I think it'll backfire against them. So I just don't see them scoring against Portugal. Ruben Diaz and Jose Fonte, and if it's not Fonte, it'll be Pepe. I think they make an absolute, amazing pair as a centre back partnership. And as well as that, they've got Carvalho, who's playing centre defensive mid. I think they've got a real good chance of keeping a clean sheet. In fact, my favourite chance, I would put them as favourites to keep a clean sheet against Hungary. I could be wrong. I mean, 5.5 is not cheap, But if you want a solid pick, I would definitely go with Rui Patricio. He's in my team. And as well as that, I mean, there aren't many cheaper options in the Portuguese defence. Fonte and Pepe will compete. Pepe would compete for the same spot. So even though they're cheaper, I think it's 5 million and 4.5. They're not guaranteed starters. Then you've got Cancelo, who's 6 million. Ruben Diaz, who's again 6 million. And I'm not sure who's playing left back, but chances are they're probably 5.5 or 6 million. So there aren't that many cheaper options to defence, and he's got a good fixture, and he's a talented goalkeeper. So that's why on number 1 I've gone with Rui Patricio. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it useful, please smash the like button and stay tuned for more videos.